Hey everyone, how you doing? Here with another knife review. It's more of a part 2 follow-up to an initial review I did on the Microtech Ultratech that you see here, except the first version was a black finish instead of the red anodization that you see here. And it was a little bit of a rant, if you will. It's kind of a warning. Just wanted to let everybody know that if you order a Microtech from Blade HQ, you gotta be careful if you care about what blade steel you get in the knife, because you may order LMAX and get something different, or you might order something different and get LMAX. And if you don't care, then no big deal. If you do care, like I did at the time, it's something that you just want to be aware of. That's all. So I wanted to follow up to just do a couple things. One, I wanted to let you know that Blade HQ did, technically speaking, fix this problem for me. They refunded the money, 100% of the money. They did not charge me a restocking fee. I was told I was going to be charged that, and just basically told them, explained the whole situation, and they said, you're right, that we shouldn't charge you for our error, and I appreciated them acknowledging that. But I wanted to let you know I kept shopping around on the website, on their website, Blade HQ, and I found a couple different instances where they had that same knife with S35 VN blade steel, which is what I was looking for. And I called them this time, having had the experience that I did, and wanted to verify before I ordered it again, hey, is this in fact S35 VN? And very friendly person on the phone, gentleman answers and says, hey, how you doing? Yeah, that's maybe S35, I'd have to check. And I said, well, I'm actually looking at, and I read off the model, and he goes, yeah, we never really know because they switch up steels. And I say, no, you need to understand something. And this is what frustrates me. It's a different model. I'm not talking about design. I'm talking about the model number. The model number that represents or correlates to the Microtech Ultratech that has S35 VN blade steel is different than the model number on the Microtech Ultratech, same design, that has LMAX steel. And if they just basically maintained their inventory accurately to specify, okay, this is a different model, it has a different blade steel, then they would be able to monitor that. They'd be able to say, okay, this is actually technically a different model, model number, so it has a different blade steel. We have how many in. When we sell those out, we don't have them anymore. We're not going to just throw a different type of blade steel at people, and that's what had happened to me. And again, if you don't care about the blade steel, then no big deal. Don't even sweat it. Just order it, and it's going to be awesome. They're great products, and Blade HQ is a good company. But I did care, and when I called, he said he had to go back and check because they haven't done their inventory on their Microtechs, and they have been needing to. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's I haven't seen anything but that, but thank you for checking. Came back, no, I don't see any back there with S35 VN. And I'm like, okay, well, your website shows that you have a couple in stock with that blade steel. You just might want to change that so that way people aren't under the wrong impression or expectation. And he even offered to call me if they found one when they're doing their inventory in S35 VN. And I thought that was really cool too. So again, good customer service by Blade HQ. Of course, I never heard anything because they probably just didn't find one in S35 VN. So my buddy calls me up after watching my initial video, the part 1 to this, and said, look, I understand, as far as operationally why Blade HQ dropped the ball there and why you're irritated by it. And I said, well, I hope so. I'm not being irrational in that regard. He goes, right, but you're missing something. He said, LMAX is a good steel, at least coming from Microtech. And he goes, you're biased against it because you had bad experience with other manufacturers producing it, and you really need to give it a chance because you'll probably find that it's better than the S35 VN you're looking for, at least from Microtech. So I said, okay, challenge accepted. And he has a ton of Microtechs. He had one in S35 VN. So we did a test. Very simple, same sort of stuff you see on the internet all the time. Where we got rope, we did wood, we did paper after, we did the same amount of cuts. And it wasn't a huge margin, but it was noticeably the LMAX won against the S35 VN. So I was sold at that point, and I said, you know what? I keep looking for something unique. I look back in all of the Microtech Ultratechs, this model here on Blade HQ, that are sold out, that came out previously, and they had some really cool variations. You know, different finishes like camo patterns, and they'd have like all blacked out hardware and like a really cool pattern on the blade. And I just was kind of waiting for something like that. I just haven't seen them do anything like that in a long time. So I got impatient and said I got to have one of these back in my collection because I really like it. It's a great EDC as well. So I, you know, at least got something other than black. Nothing wrong with that. I just wanted something a little unique. And it's kind of my holiday knife, if you will, because it's, you know, December 2014 and it's red and all that stuff. But just cool. Really love it, and I decided, if you haven't noticed, to go with the Tanto, and I'm really glad I did. The drop point that I had before was really cool, but that's just badass looking. Really cool. So it ended up, I was really waiting and holding off all that time for nothing. Yeah, I'll call myself out, no big deal. Yeah, I was really you know, waiting so long and going through all that hassle because I just was doing everything I could to avoid the LMAX blade steel. And I think, you know, in most cases I'm still going to try to choose, you know, other steels over that in most cases, but not with Microtech. No way. This steel's been awesome. I've really cut a lot with this, and it holds a wonderful edge, comes sharp, and I'm really liking the new the different blade design, the Tanto version. Really cool. Really nice stonewash finish. I don't know how well that's being picked up here, but it is a nice stonewash finish, and a really nice transition from edge to edge on the Tanto. I really like it. It's not as blocky, you know, where you have just a really crazy, almost like a secondary point down here, where this angled point for the Tanto is. It's really subtle, which is nice for cutting. It just really makes you feel like you just have a lot more belly, pretty much. And it's a really strong tip. There's a lot of meat up there, if you will, a lot of steel. So just beautiful. One thing I've noticed that I mentioned is that when the tension is really strong, the tension is very strong on this button here. There's a lot of spring. You have to work your way all the way up here and then push harder to deploy it, and then it's even harder to bring it back in, to pull back. And I think I commented on how there's a couple guys and a lot of girls, a lot of different people couldn't actually, if they could deploy it, which they had trouble with, they couldn't get it back in. You know, they just pull, they'd get it down like this far and they just couldn't get it any further. And they just had a hard time with it. I've actually noticed that it's loosening up a little bit. Just a little. It's still very tough. I think it's a perfect amount, but it has loosened up a little bit. So it's just easier to deploy for other people too. So I never really had much of a problem with it, but I noticed I gave it to a couple other people afterwards, after I've had it for a little bit anyway, and they're actually usually able to, once they deploy it, get the blade to go back in again. So that's pretty cool. Just I guess it's kind of breaking in. Same old thing as the other one. I don't want to go through all the specs again. If you want to see that, watch the first one. One thing to notice about this, I said it's a great EDC knife. I stand by that. I think it's great. It's very thin. It's very lightweight. It's just really cool, and it's a good option if you can carry an automatic knife. The one thing, it carries nice. It's got a nice design on the pocket clip, so you can put it into a lot of different applications. You could put it on a Molly vest. You could put it on a backpack. You could put it on all sorts of tactical belts. It just does a lot, and it carries fairly deep. And it's narrow in all regards, so it's just very nice in the pocket. But this glass breaker can catch you sometimes, and kind of give you a little poke, a little jab in the midsection every once in a while if you're not careful. Also, when you're reaching down for it to pull it out of your pocket, you might get stuck in the hand a little bit. So I think it's something that if you carry a lot, you just adjust to. It's not really a deal breaker by any means. I just wanted to point that out because that does happen sometimes. So anyway, this is an awesome knife. Did want to clarify a few things and just give a follow-up. Blade HQ, even though out of the frustration for them not, handling their inventory properly, it would have been nice if they would have, gone above and beyond, but they didn't, and that's okay because it is above and beyond if they would have done something else to compensate for the frustration. But they did waive the restocking fee, which I think is ludicrous anyway, so I don't consider that above and beyond. And they did refund all of the money, which they should have. So they did everything, as far as my opinion goes. They did everything that they did the minimal. They did everything that they should have done at minimal, and that's all I can really expect. So they did a good job. They made it right, and I ended up with a product that I like. But I just had to point out, if any of that matters about the blade steel, and you want to make sure you get something you like, and that the end result is you're happy with the product you purchased, you're going to have to do a little bit of work if you purchase it from them to make sure you're getting what you want. That's all. So thanks for watching. Very cool knife. Again, if you can carry this type of automatic out the front blade, I highly recommend it. It is outstanding. It does great thrust stabbing. I've stabbed it into trees numerous occasions and wood and everything. It's very reliable. I've never had a problem. It's got built-in safety features like I talked about. It's a wonderful option, and I think it actually gives you a pretty good value. So there's a lot of other variations out there. Look them over. If you're looking for something bigger, they have that. If you're looking for something smaller, they have that too. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.